All right, it's finally here. So certainly excited about having game week. It's fun for us to be able to have a home game first. I'm excited to see our fans out there. I know we'll have a great crowd, be a great environment for our players to get to go experience. Like I've said several times, our guys are ready to hit somebody else, and it'll be fun to play a team that's right up from this region as well, and in Portland State, and certainly a coach that I have a lot of respect for. So it should be a fun game for us.
Let's start right over here on the right with Zach.
You talked before about taking extensive notes based on what you guys do every practice, every day. Has your game day progression changed at all from last year? And if so, will you detail at all how it has changed?
Not a ton. The process is still somewhat the process. Little notes here and there from how we practice, what we feel like we have to practice that we get the best out of. But I don't know that any of that would speak necessarily to your question. More than anything, we found that we get a lot of good work when we do a lot more good on good periods in practice. We've created a lot more of those.
Right here in the middle, Eric.
Dan, you mentioned last week that it was maybe a little premature to start talking Portland State, but now we're here. Can you just talk about offensively what they do that challenges defenses, and then the opposite for?
Yeah, the biggest thing is their quarterback is extremely dynamic. He's a guy that's really fast. It shows up. You can see it. You watch their explosive play tape really quick. You realize that he's a guy that has the ball in his hands. They have one of the deeper target areas for as far as throws down the field. They throw it down the field quite a bit. I think average targets over 12 yards, for them from a passing game standpoint. And then they have a couple, dynamic players that they've done a good job using on that side of the ball. Defensively, they have some guys that, run to the ball, play like their hair's on fire. It's kind of an exotic scheme. It'll be interesting to see. I know they've had some changes, staff-wise and how they manage things on that side. But you kind of have to prepare for everything that you've seen on film from there, or even, previous schools that these coaches have been at to prepare for them.
Front left, James.
Will Nishad and JPJ be able to go this week?
Yeah, I think so. Shot will be a question. JPJ was practicing with us today. Was doing great.
Back right, Trevor.
Last year, you said Jake Van Dyne kind of helped you get ready for some of those dual threat quarterbacks as a scout team QB. So who for you right now this week is kind of helping you on the scout team get ready for that type of player?
Yeah, Brock Thomas has been doing a phenomenal job for us on that side. He's completed some passes. He's had some success running the ball as well. That really translates back to what he did when he was in high school in Sheldon.
Front left, James.
Defensively, will Justin and Kamari be able to go?
Yeah, I think we should have our guys available. Right now, we still wait and see, what it looks like as we get closer. Have some guys that still have to get healthy.
Front right, Zach.
You said last week when we talked to you, you have great respect for Coach Barnum. What's that relationship like with you guys? Have you been able to meet him several times, and what is it about him that you have such great respect for?
Yeah, I've just got to see him. We've been at some these satellite camps that you do as coaches, in the off season, and these mega camps that you go to. I've got to be around him a few times there. He's a really personable guy, and then obviously to be able to be in a place for 9 years, you must be doing something right, and he's done it for a long time. But just respect for a guy that's coaching there at Portland State and how he's built his career.
Back right, Trevor.
Just on a personal level, with all the anticipation, the preparation, the excitement, what does the night before a game look like for you? Are you preparing to the last second? Are you trying to relax, unwind a little bit? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I try to prepare. It's certainly at the end of the night, I'll kind of sit down and go through play the game in my mind before the game's played and make some additional notes for myself that I want to hit in the morning with staff. Just try to get into an easy spot where I can figure out what's next for us. But
Back to the middle, Eric.
How did you feel you guys have approached the last 48 hours now that it is game week? Is there a shift at all? Is it all kind of the same as what you saw in fall? I guess I'm just curious from an energy, kind of effort level, what you've seen this week so far.
Yeah, I think our guys have had great effort and great energy. They know it's game week. There's been a buzz around the building, that we finally get to go play somebody else. But they've had good juice and energy this entire week.
All the way in the back, Matt.
Last week, Tosh talked about how the first game of the season and the bowl game is when you see mistakes made just because of the rust and the dull between the games. What are things beyond obviously a win that you hope to see play out, regardless of score outcome, that makes show you guys played a clean game?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we've shown our players. There's more turnovers in college football in week one and then in the bowl week than there is at any other time of the season. There's more missed tackles in week one and in the bowl game than there is any other time of season. That's because of the long vacancy between games. So starting there. But ultimately, college football is still about explosive plays. and takeaways, right? So those are things that we want to create, defensively as far as takeaways, and offensively we want to create explosives.
Front left, James.
There's no replacing a Christian Gonzalez per se at corner because he was so unique. What has Kyrie shown this month to show that he can be capable of being a high rep guy, but whether it's CB1, CB2, whatever the case is, but that he is capable of being the next lead corner for you guys?
Well, I think Kyrie has speed. He has length. He has things that you look for, as a coach, and it translates, right? It translates on the field. He plays the ball. He's just very savvy. So it's a guy that had experience too. It wasn't like he came in here and he hasn't played football. He's been playing football, but there's certainly an opportunity for him this year.
Front right, Zach.
It's early in the season. Do you guys feel like, offensively at least, schematically, you're able to go deep into the playbook and you feel all your players are comfortable doing that? Or you feel like you're still kind of getting into it after this fall camp?
Yeah, really what fall camp's about is building that library of plays, right? Offensively and defensively. And then you want to be able to pull from that library whenever you get into a game. So you don't necessarily carry every single play into each game, but you've got the library that you've already kind of attacked. So for us, I feel like we have all of our tools in front of us that we can use.
Second row, middle out.
Does anything, now that you're here at game week, does anything feel different for you in year two here, whether it's just prepping for game week or just mentally preparing yourself for game week as head coach at Oregon?
Yeah, I think so. But just more so just the approach of knowing what's next, right? And you never know what year one's going to feel like going into that first time. But it's not the first time anymore, so certainly a different approach.
Back right, Trevor.
Just with fall camp in the books, what do you feel like you've learned about your team from a competitive character and a toughness standpoint?
Yeah, I think we got a really competitive team, right? It doesn't matter really what we're doing on that field. The guys that are in that space, they want to win, right? And it could be a drill in practice, or it could be a 2-minute period at the end of practice, or it could be a game. These guys want to compete. From a toughness standpoint, that's still being shown. It's a long season. Football, you're going to have bangs, you're going to have hits, you're going to get dinged here and there. We got to see what kind of team we look like at the end of the season, but obviously that starts with right now.
Middle left, Eric.
Wondering if there was enough separation in camp to make a decision on punter, and if the plan is to go all the way through the season with that player, or to rotate it all, I guess.
Yeah, I think we've had a really good competition there at punter. I'd say, Ross and Nick, and Luke have both really stuck out and both had really good camps. I think there's a great chance you get to see some of both. And then if somebody separates themselves or is performing better than the other, then they'll probably play more.
Pair in the front, James.
What is it about Mateo that enables him to be able to play immediately as a true freshman, whether he's a starter or again, secondary guy? That's probably a little bit based on the offense, but ultimately, what is it about him that he's able to play possibly immediately for you guys?
Well, he's intelligent, right? Mateo's a really smart player. I think he, can conceptualize things that we're trying to do. And then obviously from a size standpoint, he doesn't look like a freshman, right? He's got great size and speed, but he's been well trained. He's played at a high school at a really high level with good players and talent. And then he's come here and he's worked really hard to be developed. So I think that gives him an opportunity, as well as some other guys, to be able to make an impact.
Front right, Zach.
Obviously, you've been busy with Portland State prep, but I'm curious, you had a couple of upcoming opponents that played this past week, and if you're able to sit back and take any of that in and kind of do some early scouting on any of your upcoming opponents.
Yeah, not necessarily for me as far as early scouting. I certainly watched a couple of the games this past weekend, but it gives us a chance as a staff to get ahead. There's other people that'll be working on breakdowns and some of that stuff in advance. But yeah, I got to glance at the game. Certainly not my focus right now.
Front left, James.
Having looked at some of those games, Dan, and to see the new clock rules in effect, they had a tangible impact of some kind, approximately 5-6 plays a game. Your thoughts on just what the impact was of the new rules so far, particularly the clock rules?
Yeah, I think it just prioritizes points per possession, offensively. Like, it's not necessarily about points per game as much as it is when you get the ball, do you score? And do you stop teams from scoring? Because there are going to be a few less snaps in games.
Last question, James.
Will talked about being about 8 deep on the offensive line, and certainly you've got a lot of experienced guys there. What is about Dave Iuli where he's either one of those 8 or capable of being in that next group to maybe make it 9 deep if you had to rely on him?
Yeah, I think he's taken a big step since his freshman year. He's a guy that prides himself when he's on the field. You know, he practices with an energy and enthusiasm. He wants to do right. You can hear him encouraging his teammates when he's out there. But he's got size and he's got strength, right? So it probably starts there. And when you're a guy that can move bodies because you have a big body, that's a plus when it comes to the offensive line.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys.